The Predator's Trap, the dark art of love bombing. You think you have finally found it, that elusive, perfect connection the world promised you. They sweep you off your feet, showering you with affection, compliments, and grand gestures. Every waking moment is filled with their presence. They tell you things no one else has ever noticed about you. You feel like the absolute center of the universe, cherished, understood, and utterly adored. But in reality, you are not in a fairy tale. You are a fly, exquisitely trapped in a very beautiful, very sticky web. This is not love. This is love bombing. And by the time you discern the difference between genuine affection and calculated manipulation, your heart will be a hostage in a prison you helped build. Today, Dr. Shadow peels back the seductive skin of romantic manipulation, exposing the insidious process that turns adoration into absolute control. If you are in a new relationship and it feels too perfect, if the intensity is overwhelming, if your intuition whispers doubts amidst the euphoria, know this: you are not in a spontaneous romance. You are in a laboratory, and you are the primary subject. Stay until the end or remain a puppet forever, dancing to a melody composed by someone else. The most dangerous poison is often disguised as nectar, and the most destructive relationships begin with an overdose of love. In Phase 1, we uncover the illusion of the soulmate. The grand entrance, overwhelm as a weapon. Conventional wisdom dictates that to be desired, one must be scarce, that playing hard to get fuels attraction. This is true for the amateur, but the predator, the true architect of emotional captivity, understands a deeper, more primal truth. Overwhelm is a weapon. They do not play hard to get because their objective is not fleeting attention. Their objective is total psychological submersion. Imagine throwing a small fish into a vast ocean. It is lost. Now imagine a tidal wave. It consumes everything. Love bombing is that tidal wave. It is an initial, aggressive, and relentless display of extreme positive attention designed to disarm, intoxicate, and quickly establish a deep emotional dependency. This is not about mutual affection. It is about accelerated bonding. The predator aims to compress months of organic relationship development into a matter of days. Why? Because time allows for critical thinking, for observing inconsistencies, and for seeing red flags. The love bomber denies you this time. They flood your senses, leaving no space for rational assessment. They bypass your guard by overwhelming your desire for connection and validation. You are not falling in love. You are being engineered to fall in love with an idealized reflection of your own desires. The dopamine hijack, rewiring the brain. At the heart of love bombing lies a sophisticated neurological hijack. Our brains are wired for reward. When we experience pleasure from social connection, our brain releases dopamine, a powerful neurotransmitter that creates feelings of euphoria. The love bomber understands this mechanism intimately. They do not just provide positive attention, they provide a dopamine deluge. Through constant communication, excessive compliments, and grand gestures, they trigger repeated bursts of dopamine in your system. Your brain quickly learns, this person equals extreme pleasure. This person is essential for my happiness. You are not consciously deciding to love them. Your neurochemistry is being rewired to crave their presence. You become addicted, not to the person, but to the intense, intoxicating feelings they generate. This is the foundation of the trap. By artificially inflating your happiness levels, the predator creates a high that they, and only they, can provide. Once the addiction is established, they hold the supply. The shift from adoration to devaluation. Once the predator is certain you are hooked, once you have integrated them into your identity and alienated yourself from other support systems, the bombing stops. This is the most brutal part of the protocol, the devaluation phase.
The transition is often sudden and inexplicable. The person who couldn't go an hour without texting you now takes days to respond. The compliments are replaced by subtle criticisms. The grand gestures disappear. This is not a mistake or a rough patch. It is a calculated move to test your submission. Because you are addicted to the dopamine of the first phase, you will do anything to get it back. You begin to work harder, apologize for things you didn't do, and change your behavior to please them. You become a beggar for the affection that was once given freely. The predator has successfully shifted the power dynamic. You are no longer a partner. You are a subordinate. The trauma bond, the final lock. The final stage of the trap is the creation of a trauma bond. This is a deep psychological attachment formed through intermittent reinforcement. The predator occasionally gives you a hit of the old love bombing, a single flowers, a kind word, a moment of the old warmth, just as you are about to give up. This creates a cycle of agony and ecstasy. The relief you feel when they are kind again is so powerful that it overrides the memory of the abuse. This bond is stronger than a healthy relationship because it is rooted in survival instincts. Your brain becomes convinced that you cannot survive without the person who is destroying you. If you find yourself making excuses for someone who treats you with hot and cold cruelty, if you are chasing a ghost of a person who no longer exists, you are in the trap. The only way out is not to fix the predator, but to realize that the person you loved was never real. They were a mirror designed to reflect what you wanted to see so they could steal what they wanted to take. I am Dr. Shadow, and the doors to the prison only open from the inside. The mirror phase, targeted profiling. Before the first bomb is dropped, the predator engages in a process known as targeted profiling. You believe your meeting was a stroke of fate, a cosmic alignment. In reality, it was a data collection mission. In this modern age, your digital footprint is your greatest vulnerability. The predator studies your social media, your past heartbreaks, your insecurities, and your deepest aspirations. They are looking for the emotional void. Perhaps you felt neglected as a child, or you were recently betrayed by a former partner. The predator identifies this hole in your soul and builds a persona that fits it perfectly. If you crave intellectual validation, they become the scholar who finally sees your genius. If you crave protection, they become the unshakable fortress. When they speak, they use the echo effect. They don't just agree with your opinions, they repeat your own values back to you using slightly more sophisticated language. This creates the illusion of a soulmate connection. You think, finally, someone who speaks my language. In truth, they are simply an empty vessel reflecting your own desires back at you to lower your metabolic and psychological defenses. The isolation protocol, cutting the safety lines. Love bombing serves a dual purpose, to draw you in and to push everyone else out. This is the isolation protocol. Because the predator consumes 100% of your time and emotional energy, your relationships with friends, family, and colleagues begin to wither. The predator uses us against the world rhetoric. They will subtly point out how your friends don't really understand our connection or how your family is too controlling. They frame this isolation as a romantic necessity, a private sanctuary where only the two of you exist. By the time the honeymoon phase ends and the abuse begins, you look around and realize you are alone. You have no one to verify your reality. When you tell a friend about the predator's cruelty, you hesitate because you've already spent months telling that same friend that this person is a godsend. The shame of being wrong keeps you silent, and silence is the predator's greatest ally. Intermittent reinforcement, the gambler's addiction. To understand why you stay when the love stops, you must understand the slot machine principle. If a slot machine never paid out, no one would play it. If it paid out every time, it would be boring. But because it pays out unpredictably, it becomes the most addictive device on earth.
the predator becomes a human slot machine. After weeks of coldness and devaluation, they suddenly provide a massive win, a night of intense passion, a heartfelt apology, or a return to the initial love-bombing state. This release of dopamine is even more powerful than the first because it is preceded by intense cortisol, stress. Your brain undergoes a process called biochemical chaining. The relief from the stress of being ignored feels like a spiritual awakening. You become a hope addict, perpetually waiting for the next win. You stop looking at their current behavior and start living in the memory of who they were at the beginning. You are no longer in a relationship. You are at a casino, and you are betting your sanity on a ghost. The gaslighting fog, erasing the truth. As the trap tightens, the predator introduces
the chameleon effect, the art of social infiltration. The following is a transcript from the private archives of Dr. Shadow. I, the psychological suicide. You have just made the most significant mistake of your life. You believe you clicked this video by accident, but in the world of high-stakes psychology, there are no accidents. Your mind is already searching for something it lacks: power. Imagine a person you have worked with for years, someone you trust with your secrets, someone you call a friend. Now, imagine that person does not exist. That person is a phantom, a construct meticulously assembled based on your specific tastes, fears, and insecurities. They did not stay by your side because they loved you. They stayed because you were their target. They are a chameleon. If you do not witness this revelation to its very end, you will spend the rest of your life seeing only what people want you to see. You will never know who your partner, your boss, or your best friend truly is. But by mastering these shadows, you become the universal key that opens any door. To become a chameleon, you must first commit a psychological suicide. You must kill your own ego to make room for the personality your target desires. Infiltration is not about lying, it is about reflective adaptation. People do not love you for who you are, they love you for how much you remind them of themselves. 2. Biological synchrony, the echo technique. Why is the chameleon effect so absolute? Because it hijacks the mirror neuron system. These neurons are the biological bridge of empathy. When I smile, the neurons in your brain responsible for smiling fire as well. The chameleon hacks this system. Evolution has programmed humans to trust those who are like them. In the primitive world, appearing different meant death. Today, that instinct is your greatest vulnerability. When a chameleon mirrors your gestures, your tone of voice, and even your breathing rhythm, your subconscious grants them a green light. You feel a sense of comfort, unaware that you are merely looking at a reflection of yourself. True professionals use delayed mirroring. If the target leans back, the chameleon waits 15 seconds before doing the same. If the target uses a specific metaphor, comparing a business deal to a hunt, the chameleon adopts that vocabulary. This creates an unbreakable bond within the target's limbic system. 3. The status tax and the 5% rule. Most people fail because they try too hard to be liked. They talk too much. This is an amateur's mistake. The chameleon manages silence like a weapon. Enter the status tax. In a conversation, the chameleon speaks 10% less than the subject. When the subject asks a question, the chameleon pauses for exactly 4 seconds before responding. This silence forces the subject to fill the void, often revealing more information than they intended. It establishes an aura of calculated authority. Furthermore,
There is the 5% rule. Never be the best dressed or the smartest person in the room. Always be exactly 5% better than the average. This ensures you are not a threat to the egos of the powerful, yet you command their respect. You do not want to be a shining star from the outside. You want to be the best version of a peer. IV, the vulnerability gap, finding the ransom. Once the biological bond is formed, the chameleon searches for the vulnerability gap. Every human, no matter how powerful, has a void. The CEO needs someone who doesn't want their money. The intellectual needs someone who truly understands their obscure theories. The narcissist needs a witness to their greatness. The chameleon becomes the perfect plug for that hole. You do not enter through the front door of their life. You enter through the wound in their soul. I once deployed an operative to infiltrate a high-security private circle. He did not use credentials. He used the presupposition of belonging. He walked into the building as if he owned the foundation. Because humans are biologically wired to follow confidence, the guards never asked for his ID. He bypassed the security of the building by bypassing the security of the human mind. V, the final transformation. The chameleon effect is the ultimate weapon. For the one who masters it, there are no locked doors, no unreachable people, and no secrets. But there is a price. When you spend your life wearing masks, you risk a permanent loss of self. One day, you will look into a mirror and fail to recognize the face staring back. The mask adheres to the skin. You become everything to everyone, and yet you remain nothing to yourself. This is the ransom the soul pays for absolute infiltration. If you have watched this until the end, you are no longer a mere observer. You are part of the game. Look around you. Who are you trying to mimic? Or more importantly, who is currently mimicking you? Be careful. A true chameleon is never seen. You only feel the consequences of their presence. I am Dr. Shadow. I am always watching. IV, the illusion of choice. Do not be deceived. You think you are watching this by your own free will, but your curiosity was engineered long before you pressed play. You are a pawn in a game where the board itself is shifting beneath your feet. Today, we step beyond mere adaptation. We enter the realm of the architect. While the chameleon hides in plain sight, the architect redesigns the very room you stand in. Most people believe they see the world as it is. They are wrong. They see the world as their senses interpret it, and senses are the easiest things to manipulate. If you do not master the art of framing reality, someone else will frame it for you, and you will live your entire life inside a cage you believe is a palace. The goal is not to win an argument. It is to ensure the argument never happens because you have already defined the truth. 2. Narrative priming, the seeds of conviction. The human brain abhors a vacuum. It constantly seeks a story to explain the chaos of life. The architect provides that story. This is narrative priming. Before you ever make a request or reveal your true intent, you must plant small, insignificant truths in the target's mind. These are seeds. By the time you are ready to harvest, the target will believe your idea was their own original thought. This is the ultimate form of infiltration, infiltrating the origin of thought itself. We use information cascades. You don't tell the target a lie. You surround them with people and environments that imply a certain reality. When three different, unrelated sources hint at the same thing, the human brain stops questioning and starts believing. You are not lying to them. You are orchestrating their environment so they lie to themselves. 3. The paradox of scarcity and the invisible wall. Why do men crave what they cannot have? It is the scarcity loop. The architect creates an invisible wall. You do not chase the target. You make the target chase you by being selectively unavailable. In social infiltration, being too accessible is a death sentence for your status. You must become a ghost that occasionally solidifies. When you are present, you are 100% there, intense, focused, and mesmerizing. But then you vanish. This creates a psychological itch in the target's mind. They begin to obsess. They begin to assign you a value far higher than you actually possess. You are no longer a person. You are a prize. And once someone views you as a prize, they have already lost their objective judgment. You are no longer their friend. You are their oxygen. They cannot breathe without your silence. VI, the grand reveal, the price of the palace. The architect's greatest trick is making the target feel like the master of the house, while the architect holds the keys to every door. You have built a reality around them, fueled by their own biases, fueled by their own ego. But remember the warning of Dr. Shadow. A palace built on lies is still a palace.